Hello, creatures of the dark. I hope you understand today is an 80s video for a horror movie. I'm here to yap just a little bit. I hope you can understand. But today I found a movie from the 80s. It's not schlocky, but it still has some of that delicious 80s funky little stink. I wanted to ask, what's scarier than being in a foreign land? I'll tell you, being an American in a foreign land. And today, we are talking about the American Werewolf in London. This movie is shot so well. I just love how it does like the nice panning of the British moors like in like the first 15-ish minutes of the movie. It's so good. It also is a great way to introduce us to our characters. They use this panning to follow a truck full of sheep and our protagonist, David, and his homeboy, Jack. Our two protagonists are then dropped off outside of town, which then causes them to walk to a pub because it's getting dark. And in Britain, when it's dark, it gets really cold, because they're so far up, there's no sunlight, not as if they had any sunlight to begin with, but, they can't help that. But David and Jack, they joke around in this pub when they see a little star, but this star is also what looks like a pentagram, because it's a 5-point star, but it doesn't have that little circle thing around it. So they joke around, but they also, kind of set the scene. They think it's going to be nice, because they're in this nice homey little area. And it doesn't turn out so well, because then they say something, which ends up them getting kicked out in the middle of the night. Also pretty bad. But this leads our protagonists to walk through the town, and they end up making their way through the British moors. And I'm just going to say, for people who don't know what a British moor is, it pretty much is a regular moor. And if you don't know what that is, it's like a marshland kind of thing. Not really marshland either. It's like a big valley with mainly meadows. But anyway, as they're walking and making their way through this area, it's getting extremely dark, even colder, and it starts raining, set the scene. But they also hear something ferocious. They hear the sound of a werewolf. The wolf circles them and kills Jack extremely brutally. Like, I can't put as much emphasis on that. Like, it looks like he's getting fought by Mike Tyson the way this creature's like throwing its paws at him. It is actually insane. But, after after Jack is, left dead, David runs away, but he, he's like, oh wait, my boy's not with me. He runs back knowing his boy has just been lunged and killed, and he's, can't exactly outrun a beast that runs like 50 miles an hour on all fours, and it grabs him, and it takes him down, and like attacks him and beats him up and whatever. And if it wasn't for this, he probably would have died. The townspeople from the pub came in clutch. They should have had a firing squad of like 6 or 17 people, and they all just pointed their little double barrel shotguns at him, and they took him out. But, you're still bleeding out and dying on the ground. So, what these great people did was they sent him to a hospital where he meets a nurse, Alex. Now, Alex begins crushing on this guy extremely hard because she found he was fascinating. Since, she also found out he was American. And, they never really met an American out there because, I don't know, they didn't do much backpacking then. But David and Alex grew close, and she lets him live in her house when he is ready enough to like hang around and just chill for a bit and like recuperate before he's sent back to America. But of course, all good things must come to an end, because like when he's there and she leaves to go back to work, he spends his day doing nothing. He like tries to see if he's going crazy or not, because he's still seeing Jack everywhere. And Jack does make his comeback, because since he died, he also is like taking the form of like this zombie thing, but only he can see him because he's being haunted by them. Because they found out that he is the last remaining werewolf around, because he was infected by the last one that was killed by the townspeople. So, unfortunately, he didn't get. He was told to commit sewer slide. I said sewer slide, YouTube, if you hear that word. For people who know what that means, they can probably put 2 and 2 together. But, he doesn't exactly want to do that because he's still alive and he doesn't think it's real, and they just think he's going kooky because of all the drugs he's been taking. But, that doesn't seem to be pretty great because it's the middle of the night and suddenly there's a full moon and his brutal transformation begins. The sound of David screaming is disgustingly guttural. It actually sounds so painful. It seems like he was like the actor. It seemed like he was turning into a werewolf. This man-killing beast. But like in his transformation, he actually ends up killing 6 people, which is insane. And he just wakes up the next day. He's like, "Where are my clothes at? Why am I in the zoo?" But you know, the people he ended up killing was a couple, a lone man in the subway, a man who went to go and check up the mutilated couple that he actually found were supposed to be invited to their place, and get this, 3 homeless people. I don't know, he was helping out with their problem, I guess. But after that day, David goes all the way up to Alex. Alex tells the doctor, the doctor, I can't remember his name, but he goes all the way up to the place where he was attacked before to talk to the people. But the people who saved David and attacked the werewolf, they all said, "What is Blood talking about? Did he take a Percocet or something?" Because like they don't know what he's talking about. They know what happened at least, but they just pretend not to know because they don't want to be called crazy people. But it's I don't know. I mean, the doctor essentially just like, "Okay, well, can I get a Guinness?" And they let him have it. They talk to him. They think he's a cop because he's asking so many questions. But then they end up like taking him out of the pub and like, "All right, buddy, we don't want you here anymore." So he leaves. But there's one guy who seems like straight up like, I don't know, like he would be cooking up some crack in like the neighbor's backyard. But he's like jittery looking, but that's because, you know, he's gonna tell them the big secret that there are werewolves and that David is becoming a werewolf. So the doctor quite literally just rolls with it, doesn't even question it, the entire drive back to London, which is like a 2-hour drive, mind you. So, you know, he's like, I get it, he's right. Maybe he is a friggin' werewolf. Alright, let's go have him in my office now. After the little fiasco of David killing 6 people, David tells Alex that he has turned into a werewolf, woke up naked in a zoo, in a wolf pen, and all the wolves that were around it were just kind of chill, because I guess he made him the alpha, and Alex doesn't like that, so she tries to take him to the doctor to see if he can get help, but David resists after he is told he was killed, or at least that he told that he killed 6 people, and he ends up trying to arrest, or make himself get arrested, after he goes up to one of the British police, straight up calls the Queen a man, and he calls the Prince Andrew the British term for cigarette, except he's not talking about cigarettes. But if you know what I'm talking about, I ain't gonna spell it out. You might have to Urban Dictionary that one yourself. But he does all of that in front of a police officer, and this ends up drawing in a crowd. But you know, nobody believes it. Everyone thinks he's just like doing it as a joke because of how serious he looks. But David ends up just leaving. He goes to a phone booth where he calls his family. He tries to tell them that he loves them. They kind of don't really like pay attention because it's only his sister who's like 10 years old, and she's like, "Okay, what did you want me to say?" I kid you not, he's just saying repeated, like he's telling her like, "I love you guys," and she's just straight up going, huh? She's straight up like the most brain rotted 10-year-old. Like, come on, buddy. But anyway, after he like sits in the phone booth and he hangs up their call, he tries to I don't know, he like, you know, tries to commit suicide, but he couldn't bring himself to it. So after he looks away from his wrists, he looks up and he sees his dead friend Jack looking a little bit more icky and rotted than usual. So he ends up calling him into his stag film theater to show him everybody that he's killed. And at this point, I would recommend that you know, walk away or look at the floor or ceiling if you're watching with your family, because I'm not playing around. They are straight up showing a couple scenes of this, and it is so like uncomfortable to watch with your family or like with your parents. And I don't know, I'd recommend not watching this with your family unless they're like used to it and like don't care. But anyway, David, moaning as if he was straight up jorking it, is beginning to transform into a werewolf right as the theater attendant comes up to him and tells him, "You have to chill out, man. I can't keep cleaning these stains off of these seats." But David then transforms and kills everybody inside the theater. That's a pretty big thing happening right there. It's not exactly the best thing when you're committing the craziest like murder ever, but he just straight up does it because he can't control it, which leads you to think that man's been sitting in that stag film theater for like 9 hours straight, which is insane. Since he transformed, a bunch of police officers came over to see why everybody was screaming, and they entered it. And they saw the werewolf, which we also get to see what he looks like, which is like, a regular dog, but bigger, I guess. But, everybody hears all the commotion. He breaks out of the theater. He's like straight up causing this like 40-car pile-up car crash, which sends everybody into havoc. Like people are like sprung out of their car windows and like crashing and dying into the street. It is insane. But Alex, his girl, now recognizes all of the talk of this gruesome beast wreaking havoc. But since it's like the most average day in London, she still like kind of walks over there, or at least she drives with the doctor. And the police for Britain bring over like their assault rifles or whatever they've had. It kind of just looked like a regular Galil that they took from like Venezuela. But the police, they cornered him down. They cornered down David in the alleyway. They're like, "We're gonna shoot you because you killed everybody in this area." But for some reason, Alex throws herself in the middle of these like this little stalemate, and she's like, "I'm gonna talk to him. He might listen to me." And at first, it looks like she's gonna hear him out, but instead he just lunges at her, and she ends up promptly getting, like I don't know how she didn't get shot, but they straight up like fired like 15 rounds into his body. Not 15, it was like 4, maybe 5. It still took him out, but like I'm surprised she didn't get hit with a strap. But after he is like bleeding out and dead, she's like, "Oh," and she begins crying, and he transforms into a real boy before the police come over. How convenient. And the camera zooms into her face, and then it like pans to the back of her head to show his body. And then as they just hear her crying and the sirens in the background, it cuts to the credits. Now, believe me when I say this, I actually thought the movie was pretty good. The set design was spectacular. The way they were able to capture the dinginess of the city sections, the way they were able to follow one of David's victims through the claustrophobic subways as he was being like brutally mutilated. Even the way they managed to capture the homeliness of this but I think it was really good how they were able to do that. Like I don't know, all of the scenes look like they matched how the look felt, I guess, if that makes any sense. And especially how they designed the prosthetics for Jack's deteriorating body throughout the film. The gnarly looking gashes and lacerations all over the people truly captured like this disgusting scene of a crime only committed by the rabid animal that was David. I think if you like grotesque, tense creature feature type films, this movie would definitely be for you. But in my opinion, and this horrible, really bad summarization of American Werewolf in London, if you disagree, I think it shouldn't discredit the film in any way. Like, I liked it, you might not like it, but that's fine. If you don't want to watch it, I can't force you. If I could, that would be pretty cool. But, my experience shouldn't deter you from experiencing it yourself. I want to say thank you for watching, and if you stuck around this long, you are an absolute trooper. And as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video.